It gives me great pleasure, and today you did not come to hear me, you came to hear my ustad, so let me get out of here. It gives me great pleasure, it's a great honor, it's a blessing for us in this masjid, alhamdulillah, that we have been able to welcome some of the greatest scholars of Islam who exist today. And alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, it is not the sunnah to praise somebody to his face. And so I am not praising Shaykh Sayyid Salman Nadwi, Madazillahul Ali, for the sake of praising him. It is not the sunnah to praise somebody, meaning to flatter somebody and to raise his level beyond what it is. But alhamdulillah, it is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to state things as they are. And if somebody did good, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that to the person, to his face. And therefore it gives me great pleasure and honor to welcome Shaykh Sayyid Salman Nadwi, Dawat Barakatuhum, who has been kind enough to accept our invitation and to come and spend some time with us and to give us the barakah of his presence. He is the illustrious son of his illustrious father, Allama Shaykh Sayyid Sulaiman Nadwi, Rahmatullah alayh, who was one of the greatest scholars that this subcontinent has ever seen. And he comes from a great lineage of scholars. He comes from, his asatiza are among the stars that shine bright in the night of darkness. And I won't go into all the names and all the details because alhamdulillah these are all well known. Maulana Salman himself, he is currently Professor Emeritus for Islamic Studies and Arabic in the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa and Durban. He earned his PhD from the University of Chicago, and then he was invited specially by the South African government of the day, which was interestingly an apartheid government, which invited him to come and set up a department of Islamic Studies in the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. And Maulana came and he set up the department, so the department is something that he created, and then he retired from that position. There are many numerous books to his credit. One of the chief ones of that is a comparative study of the fiqh of all the Aimah. It's in 13 volumes in Arabic and it is published from Kuwait. Apart from this, there are of course many other books. Maulana is the visiting professor in Oxford, in the Islamic University in Islamabad, and of course he is a mushir and he is an advisor and a member of the Jamiat Ulama of South Africa. He is an advisor to the government of South Africa on various legal matters. He is invited to speak on various legal matters in South Africa and in various other places. One of his fortes, and I am also taking this opportunity to invite Maulana again here to Hyderabad on all your behalf, inshallah, to spend a longer period with us, is the study and the explanation of Siratul Nabi. And of course, as we know, the book that Maulana Shibli Nomani started, Rahmatullah alayh, and which Maulana's father, Sayyid Sulaiman Nadwi, completed, which is in 7 volumes, called Siratul Nabi, which is the most authoritative source of Sirah in Urdu. And the peculiar or particular quality of this book is that this seerah has been written using the principles of the muhaddithin for narrating the waqiyat of the seerah, which is very different from the general principles of narrating waqiyat of the seerah. When the people who write the seerah, when they have written the waqiyat of the seerah, they have not exercised the same level of rigor in authenticating, if you wish, the incidents of the seerah, because generally you do not extract the ahkam al-sharia from the seerah directly. So therefore the people who wrote the seerah, they also used incidents which are dhaif and so on, which is not haram, which is not wrong, but which is in keeping with the narration of the seerah. But this one, this book, Maulana Shibli Rahmatullah Alayhi plus Maulana Shaykh Salman Nadwi Rahmatullah Alayhi, they deliberately adopted a much more stricter view of authenticating the incidents, and therefore alhamdulillah with a very, very authentic, if you wish, I don't like the word authentic, which is generally the translation of sahih and so forth, which means the opposite of authentic is inauthentic, and na'udhu we don't mean that with regard to the hadith, but for whatever since we use English as a language, therefore you can come forward, jagah hai samne hai, please come inside. So that is the Sirat al-Nabi. So there is also a shorter abridged version that was written called Rahmat-e-Alam, which is again taught in many of the Madaris and Darul Uloom. And Maulana himself is an authority, alhamdulillah, on the Sirah. So I am requesting him to come the next time, and inshallah when he comes the next time, we will have a series of lectures of 10 lectures or 12 lectures, one every day inshallah. And then I'm going to, we will obviously let you know, and then all of us inshallah can benefit, where we will have a complete series of lectures on the Sirah of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because the whole purpose and idea of the Sirah is to implement it in our lives, and that's the purpose. I'm going to invite Maulana inshallah to come and do that. Today inshallah the topic that Maulana has given us is on fiqh, a comparative study of fiqh, especially with regard to the challenges that face us in today's world. Now obviously there is an hour or so inshallah that is there, so when I am saying comparative study of fiqh, let me not make it sound as if we are going to complete the entire study of fiqh in 1 hour, but inshallah we leave it to Maulana to explain to us what are the key things that one needs to keep in mind, especially with regard to how we approach, because one of the biggest fitan, one of the biggest problems today is the asabiyat, it is the rigidity on the basis of fiqh, and therefore there are divisions among the ummah where somebody says I am Hanafi and therefore I will not pray behind a Shafi'i Imam, or I am Maliki and therefore I will not pray behind a Hanafi Imam, or all these kinds of ridiculous ikhtilafat that are there in the ummah, which were never there in the beginning with the Aimma of fiqh, and therefore it's a very important subject that we inshallah will address. I will now request Maulana Sayyid Salman Nadwi Damat Barakatuhum to please come and to speak to us. Jazakumullah khair.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nahmadu wa nusalli ala Rasul al-Kareem, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. You know, sometime in the heat of the moment, the friends exaggerate things which is beyond fact sometime. I'm grateful to be here this morning. The name of Hyderabad was almost ingrained in our mind from the childhood, because my father was very closely associated with Hyderabad and the government of the time before partition. And Hyderabad had a knack of inviting luminaries, ulama, scholars to Hyderabad to enrich the culture of Hyderabad, and the young people or those who were born after independence may not know what the previous history was, what was Jamia Osmania, what was the Tarjama, what was Islamic culture of Hyderabad. But Hyderabad was very rich, and Nizam was very keen to invite scholars to Hyderabad to enrich the society. Maulana Habibur Rahman Khan Sharwani, Maulana Abdul Bari Nadwi, Maulana Manaz Hasan Gilani, Dr. Abdul Haq, Maulana Abdul Majid Badayuni, and all of these people, Darul Tarjama itself, Jamia Osmania Nisab was formulated by my father with other people involved. And the Tarjama itself produced lots of books which were printed and spread all over the world, and therefore Tarjama was known even in Europe for the books which had been published. Islamic Culture Hyderabad was a journal, a very good journal. It was even once edited by Muhammad Asad, who is the translator of the Quran and the author of Road to Makkah. He was editor of Islamic Culture Hyderabad. You'll be surprised, for example, the files of Islamic Culture Hyderabad may not be preserved in universities in India or even Pakistan at that time. But you'll be surprised that the volumes of Islamic Culture Hyderabad are in American libraries, American university library. And I myself, when I first went to University of Chicago, and I was looking around in the library, I found Islamic Culture Hyderabad there with all the volumes which are there. The point I'm making is this: Hyderabad was known at that time for the culture and civilization and the scholarship, and Nizam was very keen. My father himself was also invited here to take up a position of the religious ministry or whatever they used to call it, but he didn't choose to come here. He had to go to Bhopal. So therefore the name of Hyderabad, so I was very keen to come to Hyderabad to see what it is. And last time I came here, just for a few days, and there is a saying in South Africa that anybody who visits South Africa, he remains ever thirsty. That means he has to come back to quench his thirst. So that's what Hyderabad is. And this time it worked out very well with Suyama Beg Sahab, that he is here. He had been visiting South Africa, and I was planning to come to India, and he hijacked me not only for 2-3 days but for something more than that. And I'm very pleased to be here. And the various places, names of scholars who I heard about is mentioned in my father's letters. So I was very keen to see those places which he mentioned, or mentioned about Nizam, or King Koti was mentioned many times, and Jamia Osmania was mentioned many times, the Tajma was mentioned many times. So I was really keen to just to see. There is a Persian couplet which says, गाहे गाहे बाज खाई दफ्तरे पारी नरा करताजा खाही दार्सन तो दाग है सीनरा. That if you want to refresh what memory you have in your chest, so you must read the previous history or stories again and again so that you remain fresh. I hope the people in Hyderabad, especially younger people, should not forget or must not forget the past glorious history, cultural history and religious history, scholarship history of Hyderabad, what it was. The subject which was given to me is a complex subject. It's more technical. It's not a question of sermon or a vase kind of thing, which is very easy to do that. But this is a more technical subject, and a difficult task to trace the history of Islamic jurisprudence of the last 1500 years, just in 1 hour or so. Therefore, what I plan to do is to briefly begin with the origin of this whole thing and how we have come to the point where we are now. If you read the Quran, you will see that the surahs were revealed in Makkah, also surahs revealed in Medina. And the difference between these two places, that when Rasulullah started the preaching of Islam, at that time the first and foremost, the task was to establish the aqaid, the beliefs, because that was the main thing to establish, because that is the foundation upon which the future structure of Islam was going to be erected. And that's why Rasulullah spent 13 years in Makkah in leveling the ground, preparing the aqaid, because that was the main battle with the people in Makkah, and the Quran talks about it all the time. Now therefore in Makkah the rules and regulations generally were not coming, because that was not required at that time. As far as the basic teachings of Islam is concerned, for example the Tawheed, the Risalat or Nubuwwat, or the Qiyamah, the answerability to Allah in the Day of Judgment, or even the ibadat in terms of dua or salat or zakat, they are also mentioned in Makkan Surah. About Zakaria alayhi salam, it says, "Salli fil mihrab," you to making namaz or dua in the mihrab. So the teachings which were there, they were all the time, but they were not in a very retail form, because each Nabi had come with this particular teaching to a particular community, and these Anbiya alayhi salam who came at that time, they were addressing the challenge which they faced at that time, and therefore their activity was limited, and their teaching was also limited. And each Nabi who came, who gave the glad tidings of the next one who is going to come, and all the books mention the same thing. And that Musa alayhi salam, for example, magic was the main issue, that Musa alayhi salam was given those tools with which he can deal with those people. Sometime as Lut alayhi salam came, there was another issue came. So each Nabi who came, they came with a particular message to deal with that particular situation, and then they gave the glad tidings for the next one to come. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, there's a hadith where Rasulullah says, like a building that is which you put your bricks there, but then there's a place for a brick to complete the building. If you don't put that brick, that building remains incomplete. Rasulullah says, I am that brick which was put there. And then the Quran declared openly in very emphatic term that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the Khatam al-Nabiyyin. No other Nabi is going to come. And none of the previous books mention anywhere that the Nabi who came before, they will be last of the Prophet. No book mentioned that. The Quran mentions this last Prophet. And if he was going to be the last Prophet, naturally no other book is going to come. If no other book is going to come, that means the religion which had to be completed in full. As all of you know, that the Hajj is the last of the acts of ibadat which was done by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now Rasulullah, when he arrived in Medina, then the rules and regulations started coming, halal and haram start coming, and started legal interpretations and legal edicts were given by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now the namaz, the roza, and all those things started coming in Medina, and practicing started, like Mi'raj, for example, it took place in Makkah Mukarramah. After that the namaz became farz. But soon after that, 2-3 years later, the Prophet migrated to Medina. The Hajj was still an ibadat which had not been done by Rasulullah. And therefore when Rasulullah did the Hajj and completed, Rasulullah practice was that any act that he used to do, the Sahaba used to be taught. This is how you perform, this is how you do. And therefore the Hajj also, or other ibadat, other things, Allah Ta'ala reformed those which were corrupted by previous nations, by previous religious communities, so on and so forth. For example, Hajj itself, the Quraysh, they considered themselves very superior tribe and community to the others. So in Hajj, for example, the Quraysh, because they were the mutawalli of the Kaaba, they were the custodian of the Kaaba, they used to call themselves Jarullah, that we are the neighbor of Allah. Now because of their tawliyat, because of their custodianship of the Kaaba, they considered themselves to be superior to others. The Arab tribes, other Arab tribes used to come pay homage to them. They come to the Hajj was always there. So you used to come for the Hajj, and therefore all the gifts and all those things that you used to perform, they used to do that. And therefore they considered themselves the custodians of Kaaba with reverence attached to them. As it happens nowadays anywhere for that matter, this is what happens. So they consider themselves exactly the same way. They used to make tawaf of the Kaaba in such a way that the Hajar al-Aswad used to be on their right side. Now when we make the tawaf, the Hajar al-Aswad is on our left side. That's what Sallam taught. Do we make the tawaf by singing and clapping and sometimes even nude tawaf they used to perform. Or when they go for the Arafat or Muzdalifah, they never went to Arafat. They used to go to Muzdalifah and come back, because they say they are superior to those people. The ordinary people who should go to Arafat and come back. The point I'm making is this, that is, these were the things which were happening, and therefore the Hajj was done by Rasulullah, and he taught how this is to be done. And therefore when the Hajj was completed, only then the Quranic verse arrived, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-Islam dina. Because the last rite, the last ibadat, which until now has not been done, now has been done, and therefore Allah Ta'ala revealed those verses now. Okay, today we have completed. Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-Islam dina. Allah Ta'ala did not leave the name of religion to be chosen by the followers. Islam is the only religion which is the name of which has been given by Allah Ta'ala Himself. Europe tried to change the name from Islam to Mohammedanism, but that didn't succeed. And therefore now the Islam naturally has got the aqaid and the ibadat and then the muamalat and the akhlaq. Legality of acts or anything for that matter will appear in all these four elements. But basically it is the muamalat in with the legal interpretations, legal issues comes in our trade, in our behavior, in our conduct, in everything, whether it is the state law, whether it is the trade law, commerce, or the ordinary halal or haram, whatever it is, or legalities started coming in within Munawwara. Now the thing is this, which may have been haram in the previous teachings, some of them were made halal. For example, in the Jewish law, for example, lots of things they have made haram for themselves. Or the rabbis, even today, rabbis have the carte blanche, they can make anything halal, they can make anything haram, or whatever. That to make halal haram is the prerogative of Allah. And Allah Ta'ala then gives the authority to Rasulullah to interpret this and make halal haram as the case may be. And therefore Quran criticizes those that they arrogate themselves for the halal haram. For example, the Jews were not allowed to eat the fat of the animal as such. But we have no problem with this. Like this, there were many other issues. So in other words, the picture of Islam was completed when the Hajj was completed, and the rules or regulations had started coming already. That's what you can eat, what you cannot eat, how you dress, how you don't dress, how do you treat your community to community, and so on and so forth. And the first, the constitution that was established as soon as Rasulullah arrived in Medina, that's called the Misaq Medina or the Medina Charter. Dr. Hamidullah, who was one of the products of Hyderabad himself, who was attached to the University Jamia Osmania also, he wrote a number of books written there. And one of the his book is the first written constitution of the world, that is the Medina Charter. England still does not have a written constitution, still it is the traditional unwritten constitution. And therefore Misaq Medina was the first the written constitution which established the relationship between the state and its citizens, and between citizens and citizens. And the last section of the constitution is very surprising and strange. It is for the lawyers to understand, or that people understand. Any constitution of any government or any private enterprise that you write, any constitution or trust or whatever you do that, one of the section in the constitution is always there, that who had the right of interpretation of these clauses. Even the governments, for example, they have a clause that the lawyers may have various opinions, but only interpretation of the Supreme Court is valid to interpret the legal point or the constitutional point, and that is what becomes valid. So all trade and so all of these things, they have that kind of thing. So the last clause of the Medina Charter was, in case of a dispute in regard to the interpretation of the clauses which has been given, that will be referred to Allah and His Rasul, that is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In other words, when he decides, when he will interpret that constitution point, whatever, that will be final. Now that applies to everybody today. All modern constitution, they have that kind of clause, that who will decide. If a private organization, the executive committee will decide, general body will decide, or whatever will decide. In America, in South Africa, for example, there is a separate constitutional court. So all the constitutional matters, all the legal disputes are referred to the constitutional court, and their verdict is final. Nobody can dispute anything. So the point I'm making is this, what is the point I'm making is this, to make halal haram, to make legal or illegal, whatever it is, it's not the prerogative of any individual or any community, that as a community I decide to do this and this, not right. So therefore, as far as halal or haram is concerned, that is with Allah, and as Rasulullah interpreted those. Quran deals with principles. Very seldom Quran goes in the details of law. But where it goes in details of law, that is final. Nothing can be done. For example, the inheritance, the laws of inheritance, or the laws of marriage, some cases, laws of divorce, sometime, or the absolutely halal haram thing, the gambling or the drinking or the adultery or fornication or any of these things, where the Quran goes into details with the law. These are the hudud. You can't change anything, no matter what you do. And therefore, the issues were coming in all the time. It was easy at that time because Rasulullah was alive and Sahaba were there. So if anybody had any problem or dispute or any problem in the regard to interpretation of any of the rules which had been brought down, it was very easy to go to Rasulullah, he will explain what it is, and the matter is over. But as these judgments were being given, these were being preserved with the Sahaba, and some Sahaba used to write it down, because that's how it's going to develop. Many people object about the hadith or create doubt in the case of hadith. It started from the Orientalist, goes there, and many other people started. Surprisingly, these things started coming in, creates doubt about it. The Bible, at least the hadith or hadith, are much more reliable than the Bible. Because the thing is this, the writers of the four Bible, they did not even see Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. But the authenticity, after all, Rasulullah lived for 23 years as prophet. He said something, he did something. How did he behave with his wife? How did he behave with the children? How did he behave with the strangers? How did he trade? How did he go where? The history is full of it. You won't know the details of the other prophets so much. You don't know much about Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, that 33 years life, out of that only 3 years or 4 years are old, for 30 years nobody knows what happened, where he was. Rasulullah, at least the history is full of it. It's been recorded. Sahaba were recording it all the time. Who was his father, who was his uncle, where he was born, where did he die, what did he do, what battles he fought, whom he met, whom he did not met, what did he say to whom. These are all written there, being done all the time. And therefore, whatever judgment, whatever verdict was being given, it was being recorded. During the time Rasulullah was alive, many of the cities or the countries were coming, the cities were around Arabia were coming in the fold of Islam. Yemen was one of them, which came under the Islamic State. And therefore the Medina was the first Islamic state which came in 622 when the Prophet migrated. And therefore the Prophet was head of the state of that first Islamic state. For your interest, the Islamic state of Khilafat that was established after Rasulullah, it continued all the time from 622 up to 1924 in one form or the other, irrespective of where the capital was. It remained in Medina or Kufa or Baghdad or Constantinople or Egypt, where it was, but there was a Khalifa somewhere all the time. So there was a political continuity all the time in these things. And therefore Yemen, when it came under the control of the Prophet had to appoint a governor. As Musa Ashari and Hazrat Mu'adh ibn Jabal was appointed. And this is a very famous hadith. When Mu'adh ibn Jabal was going, Rasulullah asked him, how are you going to decide cases? Because he is going to be Qazi, he is going to be the head of the province. There are Muslims, the Muslim and non-Muslims. There are these disputes in regard to inheritance, disbursement, namaz, roza, hajj, zakat, trade, business, all of these things will come. So how are you going to decide? Now the thing is this, there were dispute will arise, you have to give it a judgment. So he said, as Mu'adh bin Jabal said, I will look into the Quran first. Rasulullah said, if you don't find the Quran, then what will you do? He said, then I would look into the Sunnah, into the practice of Rasulullah, his judgment, what it is. Then Rasulullah asked, because now he's going Yemen. It's not easy to come from Yemen to ask, there were no telephone, there were no communication, what would he do? So he replied that then in that case, I will then make ijtihad from my opinion in the light of the Quran and the Sunnah. And Rasulullah was pleased, and he put his hand on the chest of Mu'adh ibn Jabal and said, thank God, alhamdulillah, that you will do that. That became the principles. So what happened is the very first source. In Islamic law, there are primary sources, there are secondary sources. The primary sources, the first is the Quran itself. anything which Quran is specifically mentioned, that is final. Nothing you can change, whether you like it or not. And the breed of today, if they don't like anything, they would like to reinterpret the Quranic verses. And there's a whole movement to start with reinterpretation of the Quran. People have tried to change things. Quran gave the challenge even at that time when the Prophet was alive. At that time, Quran gave a challenge to the Arabs, not to the non-Arabs. Quran was in Arabic. Inna anzalna al-Quran Arabiyan la'allakum ta'qilun. So because the first recipient were the Arabs. Had the first recipient would have been German, the Quran would have been in German. The first recipient was French, the Arabs, the Quraysh objected to that. Why Quran is in Arabic? Or why the Prophet is a man, human being? Allah replies a very logical answer. Quran says if this world was inhabited by Malaika, I would have sent the Prophet as an angel. An angel I would have sent as a Prophet. Now if you people are speaking any other thing, language of the Quran was revealed in any other language, then these Arabs would have said, oh, I don't understand because it's not in my language. And therefore Allah Ta'ala did not leave any loophole for that thing. So Quran is Arabic. And it is Allah Ta'ala's mercy, really rahmat, that the original language of Wahi is intact. And therefore any dispute, anybody says anything, whatever is saying, that will not cut any ice, because the thing is immediately you have the references there, the Quran there, see what man is saying. And therefore it happens every day. You have got the English translation of the Quran, so many translations for Quran. Translation is a translation. The one who is translating the Quran, he is understanding the word or the terminology as he understood. And depends on the English also. Is it English or the Indian English? So all sorts of problem created. Many people have translated the Quran. And so their own personal view is injected into the Quran. But as far as the Arabic Quran is concerned, it's original. Even today, the standard of right and wrong of Arabic is Quran. And from the Quran came, the branches of knowledge came out of that. Tafsir came out, law came out, even the grammar came out, history came out. Many people have interpreted the verses or dealt with the natural sciences, the phenomenon of natural sciences and so forth. Now, the history is not the subject of the Quran. That you must understand. Scientific or sciences mentioned which are in the Quran, they are not the subject matter of the Quran. Those things are referred as a proof, as an evidence to prove who is the Creator and what Allah Ta'ala is asking. These are not the objective by themselves. These are just, for example, if I am talking to you, and if I bring a story to you or refer to a particular aspect of science, that is just to strengthen my argument. But that's not the object of my thing. Like that's with the Quran. Quran says, this is a book of guidance. Book of guidance to live in this world and the hereafter. That's the main thing. The rest of the things which I mentioned there are to strengthen the argument, as we do in our everyday, we do things. Quran was addressing the audience as it is coming. And therefore, when the Prophet was alive, things were very easy. You don't have to do anything. Just go and ask him. He will give you the verdict. Everything is finished. When Rasulullah passed away, then the Sahaba were there. But the principles were already established. That is, the Quran is the first source, and the Hadith and the Sunnah of Rasulullah is the second source. And third is, in the light of these two, Quran and Sunnah, things will be decided. And there are lots of examples in this time, the Sahaba themselves, that how they interpreted the Quranic verses and so forth. The interpretation which the Sahaba gave because they were the direct recipient of the instruction from Rasulullah. They were the most reliable people. They are the one who received the thing. I give an example. It happens to us every day. Nowadays we have got democracy everywhere, but in the old days there used to be king or something. King has a courtier, he has his prime minister or whatever it is, or thing like that. If somebody comes and tells you that the prime minister sent a messenger, I said the prime minister has sent you this, has asked you to do this or this, or president has sent you to do this or this. What do? You don't challenge him. You just accept what he says. You go and do whatever you have been asked about it. And therefore, there are many examples given where the Sahaba. Now, Sahaba also were of different capacity, different categories. There were general Sahaba like Hazrat Abu Hurairah. Hazrat Abu Hurairah is one of those Sahaba who have reported the largest number of hadiths. But he was not a qazi, he was not a mufti, he was not a scholar. So among the Sahaba also there were categories. The tafaqquh or the understanding of Hazrat Umar, Hazrat Usman, Hazrat Ali, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Zubair, Hazrat Zubair, and many other. These were the Sahaba who were expert in these things. The general Sahaba, they were there, ordinary people there. So they did not have the legal interpretation technique or things like these. They were not involved into this. A good example of that is, I'm telling you, there's a very famous hadith, Rasulullah said, Man qala la ilaha illallah faqad dakhala al-jannah. Anybody who recites the kalma la ilaha illallah, he will enter the paradise. Now Hazrat Abu Hurairah received this hadith from Rasulullah. Hazrat Abu Hurairah asked, can I go and announce this to the people community, Muslim community? Rasulullah said, alright, you go. So he wasn't very forcefully going to say, Man qala la ilaha illallah faqad dakhala man qala but thing. Hazrat Umar was coming from the other side. He heard him, what are you saying? What are you talking about? He repeated the thing. So Hazrat Umar lightly hit him on the chest. He said, stop it, don't say anything, don't do that. So Hazrat Abu Hurairah came to Rasulullah complaining that Hazrat Umar hit him. Hazrat Umar was very quick with his sword, with his hand and with thing there. And so he came to complain to Rasulullah that Hazrat Umar has hit me, stop me from this thing. Then Hazrat Umar also then followed him. He came to Rasulullah asked, what happened? So he explained what happened. Hazrat Umar said that what Hazrat Abu Hurairah was saying is true, but there was a danger, and this is Hadith Islam, these people are new converts, new principle. So what Hazrat Abu Hurairah was saying, that may be interpreted that you don't have to do anything. All that you have to do is say, La ilaha illallah, that's finished. You don't have to read the namaz, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this. So that would be a very dangerous thing to do. Hazrat Abu Hurairah did not understand, but Hazrat Umar understood. So the understanding of the fiqh, the tafaqquh, Quran uses all the term, like we use in English. One is the hearing, one is the listening. Many times you see what happens, we hear lots of things, but doesn't register. Something which register is something else. That's what Quran says, listenist. Listening is something else with the intent to understand what it is. And one is ordinary hearing. You may hear something but not go into your heart, don't register. And therefore tafaqquh or fiqh came from the same thing. Quran says so. Quran says a group of people from the ummah will be يَعْدُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ يَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. This is a general principle. Everybody would do that. But the group of people should be from there, لِتَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Those who penetrate into the complexities of the deen, its teaching, and then they come to a particular decision. Now the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they were the direct recipient of the message, and Rasulullah sallam, therefore they were interpreting. And therefore the first principle was that the Quran is the first source, Hadith or Sunnah is the second source, and the third source became that the ijma of the Sahaba, that on any issue on which the Sahaba have agreed, that became the principle. That means they cannot be broken. And because they were the direct recipient, they were direct people who were understanding. Now you see, when any issue, legal issues came, lots of legal issues came, the time of Rasulullah also came, Sahaba also came, they interpreted, they were recorded, they were done. That's how you reached us, otherwise we were not reached. Now hadith, there's a technical difference between hadith and sunnah. Sunnah means the practice, hadith means the words or the problem. So the report. So a hadith report may have the instruction of Rasulullah or the action of Rasulullah, both of which. And when you say the sunnah, that means that is the practice of Rasulullah that you used to do. So that's why the Quran and then the hadith, which means the hadith and sunnah both together. There, and the third became the ijma, that will be the consensus of opinion of the Sahaba. The consensus of opinion of the Sahaba, that became a source which cannot be broken by anybody whatsoever. For example, nowadays, the Quran does not mention the rakat of the namaz. Quran mentioned on the basic position, the qiyam, the qu'ud, ruku and sujood. That's all. But how would you make the namaz? Quran doesn't mention that. What would you read in surah? What you read in the first record? What do you read in the sajda? What do you read? Those are mentioned in the Quran, the basic things. But how did we know? For the last 1500 years, we are making the namaz, and to such an extent that we, in our tashahud, we lift up our finger, the index fingers, go to shahadat. It is such a small act that if you don't lift up your finger in the namaz, that does not invalidate the namaz. Namaz is valid. But look at the Sahaba, look at the community, that they preserved even the minutest thing of what Rasulullah did it. What more proof you want about the safety or security of the hadith itself? But those people who have got the disease in their mind or disease in their heart, Quran talks about it. In Surah Al-Imran, Quran talks about it. Those people who have got the zag in their heart, crookedness in their heart, they would like to interpret the Quran, ibtighal fitna, rather to create fitna, to create fasad, unnecessarily. Those people who have iman, they will say, we accepted whatever it is there. That's why Iqbal said, khud badalते नहीं कुरान को बदल देते हैं हुए कि दर्जा फ़क़ीहान हरम बे तौफ़ीक़. In order to legalize something, they reinterpret the Quran on their own, which is authority they don't have. And therefore, what Rasulullah said, the Sahaba did it, and that reached us. But as the government, at the boundaries of the Islamic government was extending, more and more problems were coming in. And therefore the Makkah, Medina and Kufa, they became the center of learning at the time of the Sahaba. Medina, I can understand because Rasulullah was there. But these Sahaba, that Abdullah ibn Abbas, Hazrat Abbas, Hazrat Abdullah ibn Zubair, or Abdullah ibn Umar, these were the Sahaba who were the fuqaha of the time. Hazrat Ali was a qazi, was a mufti. These were the Sahaba who were given the authority to do that because they understood. And each of the Sahabi, wherever they were, somebody was in Makkah, somebody was in Medina, somebody in Kufa, all of these Sahaba had their student. So Sina Basina, from chest to chest, from mouth to mouth, they were going, and these became the hallmark who were interpreting the legal interpretations of the legalities of the issues which involve what halal, haram, this and this and this, what we can do, what we cannot do, all kind of things. So the basic thing which Quran refers by name, for example, in the inheritance, Quran mentioned in details it goes who will get what. That cannot be changed. Now people are trying to change because of Europe. For example, the boy gets double the share than the girl. Now to them it's a matter of human rights, but they have no right to talk about it because Christianity has no law. There is no such thing as say Christian law. They have a Roman law because they go to the Romans from that time. Jews have laws. The conservative Jews abide by their Jewish interpretation, whatever they have. But Christianity fought for centuries with church. It's only Henry VIII, when they decided about the divorce, then they broke away from the Catholicism and established the Anglican Church on the matter of divorce, because the Catholic Pope was not giving him divorce. So that became the reason why the Anglican Church broke away from Catholicism. And therefore from that point onward they became secular. The church had nothing to do with this. This is the greatest mistake that the people that they have done, that they have created the dunya is one thing and deen is something else. To Islam, to treat dunya as deen has taught you, that is also a deen. How Quran puts no limitation whatsoever on the ceiling of earning. You can be billionaire, but Quran put it, earn it halal way, spend it in halal way. That's what it is all about. So these Sahaba who were wherever they were, Kufa, Iraq, they were students. They were interpreting. Every day they were facing. I'll just give you an example because I can't go into details. What time the namaz is? 1:30. So the thing is this, as the time came, I'm jumping, a big jump I'm taking, because you are more familiar with the Hanafi and the Shafi and Hanbali and Maliki law. We think these are the only 4 schools of law. But you will be surprised to know there were hundreds of schools of law. They were all named by their various names. Jaririya and Zahiriya and so on. So many schools were there. They were all there. Because at that time, the government did not specify any particular school of law but be there. They were more liberal than us. I often mention that our Akabir or the thing, they were more liberal, Sahaba were more liberal than us. And therefore, the founders of this school, as we know now, Hanafi, Shafi, Hanbali, Maliki or whatever, they had never intended to establish this school as a school of law. The first one is Imam Abu Hanifa, who was in Kufa. Then the Imam Malik, he was in Madinah Munawwara. Then Imam Shafi'i, he was in Baghdad. And then Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he was in Baghdad. But there were others also. The Ibn Hazm also, Ibn Jarir al-Tabari also. There are many. What happened? How these came to be confined to these 4 schools of law? And the 5th school of law is, of course, the Isna Ashari, the Imami, the Zaidi. That's also a school of law. In fact, Zaidis are closer to the Hanafi school of law. Isna Ashari also a school of the Iran, Isna Ashari, the 12 Imam people. And Zaidis are in Yemen. And Zaidi Fiqh is closer to us, to Hanafi school of law, because one of the teachers of the Hanafi school is Imam Jafar al-Sadiq. That's how so there were many schools of law. But as a course of time, this was more a decision or the verdict of the historical process rather than a religious process. that those smaller schools of law, they got amalgamated into one of these schools of law. That's how it became a history, because the rulers who came, they belonged to one school or the other. And because they belonged to one of the schools or the other, that's how that became the law of the country. And slowly, gradually, their students they had. So as the process of history kept on, all the other schools of law got amalgamated into one or the other school of law. And therefore, like for example, in the Sufi silsila, there are hundreds and thousands of Sufi orders. But those Sufi orders, when you go back into history, come back to confine only four Sufi orders: the Qadriya, the Chishtiya, Suhrawardiya, and these are the schools. Likewise, the historical process which confined the schools into these four schools of law as far as Sunnis are concerned. And as far as the Shia is concerned, they've got the Zaidi or the Isna Ashari school of law. You'll be surprised if I hope I don't jolt you. During the Tali time, a definite group came into being. They were known as the Khawarij. They had many groups of them. One of them was known as Ibadi. Now these Ibadis are in Oman and Muscat. They've got their. Then the Kuwaiti encyclopedia of Fiqh, which was established into 40 volumes. And this encyclopedia is called Al-Musa Al-Fiqhiyya Al-Kuwaitiyya. Now in there, they have got the four school of law, the Sunni school of law, they've got Zaidi school of law, Jafri school of law, and then the Ibazi school of law. So not only four, but 5, 6, 7 they came there. And they give the opinion of if you want to see under talaq, or you want to see under zakat, or you want to see under haram, or whatever it is, they will give you in a glance the opinion of all the schools of law. Now the problems which Imam Hanifa faced was not faced by Imam Malik. The problem which was faced by Imam Malik was not faced by Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. What Imam Hanbal faced was not faced by Imam Shafi. But it is a genuine misunderstanding. You must understand very carefully this thing, that the difference of opinion which is among these four schools of law, I'm talking about Sunni schools of law, is bound to happen. But the difference of opinion is not in the principle, in the basics. These are the details of law, as it happened to us. For example, if you establish a medical board on any disease, whatever it is, the doctors will agree on the principle, on the diagnosis of say somebody has got a cancer. When colleges sit down there, discuss the whole medical board will sit. They will agree on the principle that yes, he has got a cancer. That they will agree. Now the next stage will come, the line of treatment. Somebody will say, operate him quickly, immediately, right now. Or somebody will say, no, go give him chemotherapy, give him radiotherapy, give him this. Or let us see how it develops. So the difference of opinion is not on the principle, the difference is in the details of law. Likewise, no school of law differs on the 4 rakat of Zohar. No school differs, what are you going to read? Imam Abu Hanifa, for example, will give you an example so don't take it too long. For example, when Iran was conquered, lots of non-Arabs who were accepting Islam, the Persians or any other person. Now as soon as you become Muslim, the namaz becomes first. So how are you going to read if you don't know Arabic? How to read Surah Fatiha? What would you do? One option is, he doesn't have to read. He has to wait 10 years, 20 years or 5 years to learn Arabic, and then he start making the namaz. But the namaz became first now. So what would you do? Imam Abu Hanifa interpretation was, he suggested, in that case, he must start the namaz immediately with the Persian translation of the Surah Fatiha. Hazrat Salman Farsi has translated the Surah Fatiha into Persian. The translation of the Quran is not the 20th century act or 19th century act. It started right from that time, for a very good reason. That is still valid. Now that problem was not faced by Imam Malik. Imam Malik doesn't have to give any opinion on that. So this thing you must understand the legalities or the circumstances which faced by each one of them, and each one gave a certain judgment. Then, if you receive a particular opinion from somewhere, you establish, you put down a board of legal expert on a particular point of law. They will break their head there of each other. They will agree to a certain principle of the law or the constitution, but they will differ in the details. For example, if you go in the court, there is a plaintiff and there is a defendant, prosecutor. Naturally, they came from two different points of view there. So the point to have a difference of opinion is one thing, but to have the enmity, that is something else. And therefore, these four schools of law came to be established by historical process, not by the intention of Abu Hanifa or Imam Shafi or so on and so forth. Now, how the differences came? Rasulullah, like you must have heard, for example, we are making namaz sometime. It all depends. Sometime while we are reading the namaz, without any intention, sometime the Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen come out a little louder than the usual. So the man who is next standing to you, he heard you, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. But that's what he has reported. I was standing next to the Prophet, he said that. The Ameen bil Jahr, as we nowadays, Alhamdulillah, everybody accepted it, Ameen bil Jahr. Nobody, there was a time in the undivided India when this kind of thing was not accepted. But these are later things which happen. It happened in Sahaba time also. So it is the Allah Ta'ala's blessing that every sunnah of the Prophet is preserved. How he made the ruku, how he made the sitting, how did he make the salam, how do you think, all of these things. So therefore, this process of law which came through the historical process was established everywhere. So these differences which occur did not occur into the basics. But it is this thing, whether you do this or this or this, that's number one. Number two issue is this, that whatever different opinion is this, and the principle of the fiqh was, for example, there are two types of people. One, the faqih himself, and second, the ordinary people. Now to make it easy for you, how many of us are Hanafi? By standing, the Hanafi is the best interpretation of the law. How many of the Ahl Hadith or the Hanbalis or the Shafi thinks really this is the best interpretation? You must distinguish between the scholars and the non-scholars. If I take a Shafi child, a child from the Shafi family, into my house and teach him namaz, he will become a Hanafi. But he will not become Hanafi because he understands that Hanafi is the best school of law. He became Hanafi because he was brought up in the Hanafi environment, that's why he became. So all of you who are either Hanafi or Shafi or Hanbali, Maliki, aap sabko the multitude, they became Shafi, they became Hanbali, they became just because that's how they were trained. But there's no use fighting about it. But as far as the scholars are concerned, that's something else. The scholars may have reached, honestly, the conclusion that Shafi is the best school of law, best interpretation giving it. That's fine. But that's one thing, But to say that I will not read behind such and such imam because he is Hanafi or Hanbali or whatever it is, that's something else. Scholars don't do that. Yes, there was a time in Saudi Arabia when many people used to go for namaz. They did not read the witr behind the imam, because they read only one rakah or two salams of witr. Ahnaf make the 3 rakat with 1 salam, and they read the dua qunut. Whereas the other, they read the dua qunut nazila either after ruku or this kind of thing. And they did not make the namaz, they did not repeat the namaz, they did not make namaz behind the imam and the witr. Now for some time it could continue, because you can get away with it in a multitude. But when the Saudi became a little more clever and they realized what is happening, they enforced the law. They started putting them in the jail. How can you do this? You make namaz here, suddenly you say, I don't want to make namaz. What are you trying to say? That the Hanafi interpretation is wrong? Or Shafi interpretation is wrong? To such an extent, the halal haram issue? And now, alhamdulillah, people have changed. In South Africa itself, when I had my first Ramadan there, Taraweeh, I saw a set of people getting out of the Jamaat and making the namaz. So I thought first time I thought they may have missed the Taraweeh rakat or something, they are going to complete it. But I saw the same set of people coming out every day. The same thing was happening in Cape Town. Cape Town is more Shafi, and Durban and those are more Hanafi. So I found out what's happening. So they told me that these are the people, the Shafi, and they don't read behind the Imam because the Imam is a Hanafi. So they make their own witr. I said, why it is so? Because if you say that, what you are saying really, that is absolutely haram, and Imam Hanifa is wrong, or Imam Adam is wrong. But on the other hand, you say Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi or Shafi rahmatullah alayhi, and yet it is the same thing. So how is it possible? Because in the details of law, there will be lots of differences. But to such an extent, they are outside of the pale of Islam, that is something else. So therefore I spoke about it and said thing, understand, that is, you're making, if you have accepted in our namaz, when we make our namaz, there are lots of differences in the details, and all are accepted. So the scholars themselves, those who are really scholars, and they have the sense of accountability to Allah, that they don't create problem. It is the general public which creates the problem. Go there, they are the one who become the mufti, they become the qazi, they become the thing. And this is what it is. So the schools of law that developed, that was something else. And therefore the scholars today, whatever they have, we have got various organizations which now give the opinion in regard to the issues which comes every day. Ijtihad, the door of ijtihad was never closed. It's a different matter, but who will do the ijtihad? Not you and I. Who will interpret the legal interpretation? Not every lawyer can do that. Every lawyer may have an opinion. But only opinion which is valid is that which the Supreme Court approves, or in the Constitutional Court approved. That is the only opinion approved. We may have 100 opinions. So our 100 opinions make no sense. But the only opinion which is valid, which is accepted by the government, by everybody, is that which Supreme Court interprets. And the rest, if there are 100 opinions, one opinion is accepted, and Supreme Court will reject the 99 opinion. But that one opinion is valid. Same thing is here. Now the thing is this, though today there is a couple who says हरबुल हवस ने हुस्न परस्ती शार की, हरबुल हवस ने हुस्न परस्ती शार की, अब आबरूए शेवे अहले नजर गई. So the thing is, there are rules and regulations. Who will interpret the law? You must have the thorough knowledge of the Quran, idioms of the Quran, interpretation of the Quran, thorough interpretation of the Hadith, the verdicts of the Hadith, the terminology which the Quran uses, the terminology which the Hadith uses, then what the Sahaba, how ijtihad they made, all of these things. Unfortunately today we have no Islamic government, no anywhere in the world. But had the Islamic government been, then it would have been different. The Islamic law remained valid in one form or the other, right from 622 up to 1920, all the time. Now the Turks or the Mughals, they were Hanafis. And Turks, they were Hanafis. That's why Hanafi law became more widespread. Imam Malik's students went to Maghreb in North Africa. That's how North Africa became Maliki. Because the rulers who were there, they interpreted those laws. Same thing happened in Egypt or Indonesia or Malaysia, because the student came there, they became Shafi. The same thing happened with Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. They were more involved in the Najd and Hijaz and those areas, it became more thing, and Baghdad. So the thing is this, it was not an intentional act on the part of anybody to enforce on this and not this. It was a natural course of history that took place. That's how it happened. Now when you come to the solution of a problem that we face, today the world has become so small. A little problem starts anywhere else, it reaches everywhere in the world. In the old days, the Middle East used to be the first who used to solve the legal problem, because they are on the crossroad from Europe. So you must understand this way, that there is no Christian law. There is Jewish law, yes, but no Christian law. Therefore they don't have the issue of the halal haram. They can eat cockroach, they can eat lizard, they can eat anything as you would do. So, but there's nothing there. But you have got restriction. How you make uzaba, how you do this, how you do this, how you do this, all kinds of things. Jews, they will not eat non-kosher, no matter what you do. And therefore, these are the laws practiced by that thing. But the interpretation, the difference is, interpretation of the Jewish law rests in the hands of a rabbi. He will interpret it. The Quran criticizes it. In our case, those who are going to interpret the law are those who are experts in the Quranic sciences, in the Quranic terminologies, in the hadith, in the fiqh and so on and so forth, the whole corpus of this thing, and over and above, the sense of accountability to Allah. That what they are interpreting, they are accountable for that to Allah Ta'ala. Not because you target, you first put the target first, and then you try to legalize it. This is what is happening nowadays. And especially with the internet, which is netting you, all you people, and giving you interpretation or right, left and center. In fact, left, right and center I should have said. Because the thing is, this is a good example I'm giving you. We talk about terminology. What's wrong if I say right, left and center? You will object to it. You say, no, this is not the right use of English. It should be left, right and center. Likewise the Arabic language, likewise the fiqh terminology, all of these things. So therefore, when these problems start coming in, all types of problems. So ijtihad is the main source. And then there are secondary sources. So the Quran, the Sunnah or Hadith, and then the Ijma, and then the last is the Qiyas, the analogy. That became the main source. What is analogy? Say in the old days, a man could be killed by sword. Nowadays, somebody may be killed by sword or by a gun or by bomb or anything. So how do you interpret the thing? What will be because it says the verdict is that it is a qatl, it is a murder. It has to be punished. Now, in that case, the cause and the effect is seen. So in the old days, it was the dagger or knife or whatever it is, and as a consequence of the man died. So the cause of the death was the dagger, and the effect is the death. So illa al-ma'lul, that is the cause and the effect. So the cause and effect the same, that will apply. This is called analogy. And that's how it will be done. And that is the ijtihad, is the main source why Islam is dynamic throughout the centuries, has been, and is still today. And therefore that would remain. Nowadays, for example, say we making namaz on a boat or in the aeroplane. Now the condition is for your sajda that they should be on the ground. So how you make namaz in the aeroplane? There is no ground. Or the boat, you on the water, you are making sajda on the thing. How will you make that? This is the problem. So the jurists came together to discuss what it is. And they came to the conclusion it is permissible, it is workable, because still you are part of the same universe. We make namaz, for example, on the carpet. So what happened? Carpet intervenes between the soil and you. So if it is valid there, why can't it be valid there? Still it is the same thing. So point I'm making is these are the various corners of the issues which comes up. Lots of other comes up. In matter of divorce, in matter of marriage, in matter of this, all of these things is come there. Then the problems came. These are the four schools of law, and the principle was, with the jurisprudence was, rayuna sahih يحتمل الخطأ رأي غيرنا خطأ يحتمل الصواب. That is the principle how it used to be. That my opinion is correct, but possibility is maybe wrong. The other opinion wrong, but the possibility he may be correct. That is taqwa. You don't reject completely, it can't be this way. Imam Shafi comes to Baghdad, and he visited the grave of Imam Abu Hanifa. Now his fatwa was Amin bil Jahr or Rafa Yadain. Now when he comes there make namaz, he did not make Amin bil Jahr. So his students, they ask him, Imam, your fatwa used to be this. What happened here? You didn't do that. His answer was, احتراما لصاحب هذا القبر. In respect of the owner of the grave. Because Abu Hanifa's interpretation was, you should Amin quietly. So if Imam Shafi can do it, why can't I do it? Now, but you do, I'm talking about multitude, you do what we have been taught to do. That's fine. As long as you don't fight and wrestle with somebody else, this is wrong, this is the thing. Now, also you must understand these terminologies which came, Ahl Hadith and Wahhabi and this, these are the products of the British when they came into India. Because the British were opposed by ulama of the time. And Muhammad ibn al-Wahhab in Saudi Arabia. So the British, when they came, they were fighting them. And in order to divide the Muslim community, they created all these terminologies. And that became ingrained in the mind of the multitude. That's how this came. But the ulama, they don't fight with each other. The scholars don't fight with each other. Salman Nadwi then, because the problem, what used to happen, for example, in the Hanafi law, the divorce is very strict, strong, and like the Catholicism, there is no divorce in Catholicism. That's why you must see the multitude of film actors and actresses who are Catholics. They got married, Catholicism is not giving them a divorce, what do? They renounce Catholicism, they become Protestant, they got a divorce, they something. So the thing is that it happens every day. It becomes a sport. It becomes a play. Whether do that every day. So what started happening in India at that time? Say that these are Jahil laws, a multitude I'm talking about. The husband and wife both are Hanafi. Now she is asking for khula. The husband is not giving the khula. Asking for divorce, not giving the divorce. Or becoming more and more severe issues. What does the woman do? And you say it must be Hanafi. So what will you do? So incidents started happening where the Muslim women started renouncing Islam. When you renounce Islam, the nikah is broken. So they got free. So nikah is broken, it's finished now. They're creating a problem. Either become Hindu or Christian or whatever it is. It's a different matter. At some stage they come back to Islam, but that's not the issue. The issue is, because they were not getting any recourse, they renounced religion, Islam. So Hazrat Maulana, he wrote a book called Al-Hila al-Najiza, where he looked into all four schools of law to see how can we get the solution to the problems. And therefore, it was established that all the four schools of law are valid, are haqq. And therefore, in order to solve a problem, if you borrow from any other school of law, that's valid. At least they will remain Muslim, but problem will be solved. And alhamdulillah, nowadays I'm talking about the present day, here and in South Africa, other places also, in many cases, the Maliki Fiqh interpretation is taken between husband and wife. In Europe, it is a sport. Incompatibility, mental incompatibility, I don't know what it means. They can be incompatible, just they get married today, tomorrow they go and get a divorce. We go in Hollywood and see Bollywood, what's happening. You know, Balu means also sand also it means. So the thing is what's happening, everything is happening. It becomes a sport. So this is one thing. Second thing is this, also is important. You don't chop and change just because there is a desire in your heart to do that. There is an ulterior motive to do that. That's something else. So therefore, there are two types of people. One who are scholars and one who is a multitude. Multitude does not have the authority, multitude will not have the quality, multitude will not have the tools to interpret the rules of religion. There's something else. The strange thing is this, all the Shafis become Hanafi when they are traveling, because the Hanafis look at 14 days, the Shafis go on 3 days. The chop and change thing is this is the thing.
Here all the Hanafis become Shafi and Ramadan, they pray only at Zakat.
Yeah, in South Africa also, not only that, in South Africa, all Hanafis become Shafi or Hanbali Wajib because as soon as the Sehri time is over, 2 minutes later, immediately they make the Fajr Namaz. Normally they make Fajr Namaz later on, but that time they become the first time. Or the Taraweeh, they make the very first this thing. So if यहाँ तक तो पहुँचे, यहाँ तक तो आए, मेरे शिकवा करने पे वो मुस्कुराए, so the thing is, so at least to that point came. So the point I'm making is this, that what I have given you, I can't finish everything because it's but I'm sure you must have understood what I was driving at all the time. That is the multitude, the awam. They have no other recourse but to follow whatever fiqh or whatever school of law they have been taught that, because that's the only thing they know. But they don't have the tool to decide anything else beside that. They cannot do that. If you go to a doctor this is disease, you have no other choice but to follow what he is saying. But if you are a medical doctor, if you are something, then you can question him to this, whatever it is. But as far the scholars are concerned, they think, they delve into the issue. Now the Muslim Personal Law Board, for example, nowadays, because of these difficulties, they borrow many things from the Maliki school of law or Shafi'i school of law in order to solve the problem. If you solve the problem of the Ummah, you will still be within within Islam as such, not outside of the pale of Islam as such. So these are the issues which is important for you to understand, and it's not worth fighting about it. If you are a Shafi, remain a Shafi, whatever it is, that make it. But if somebody is doing something else, don't accuse him for something else is right. Our traveling, Jama Bain Salatain is another issue. Now naturally Arabs have gone to the extreme also. Salatas protects will make the Jama Bain Salatain. But that's not the issue. The issue is the Jama Bain Salatain is permissible to do that. Or the masah on the socks. If you go to Europe or to America, namaz is farz. You can't wash your feet into the basin, because in the wash basin the European, they put the water there, they wash their face or something. So you can't put your feet. What do you do then? You don't have to make namaz. But the other alternative is that you make masah on your socks. So the jurists have allowed that, because they have to make an interpretation of that. The interpretation is done in the light of the Quran, the Sunnah, the practice of the Prophet, and so on and so forth. Only then you do that. If you are strict by saying the only way of salvation is through the Hanafi law or through the Shafi'i law, is wrong. These are the four interpretations of law which are among the Sunnis. And if any interpretation of law that you are working, you're still valid there. But don't take it to extreme, to one form or the other, and keep the even keel. That is, if scholars, they will take cognizance of the Quran, the Sunnah, and they will arrive at a certain conclusion through the ijma. Now the Islamic Fiqh Academy in Jeddah, there's a very well-known, all the Muslim countries are, and India is represented. They take decisions. That's how they do that. And that becomes valid, because they are expert. They know the tools how to deal with them. But you and I will not be able to do that. So you and I have no other choice but to follow one or the other, whatever the case may be. So I hope you don't get the wrong message from me that you can do whatever you want to do. But the idea is, don't accuse me of that, because you never know what comes after that. I hope nobody issues a fatwa against me. But the thing is this, but the important thing is to understand what I wanted to do. One is the scholars, the other is the multitude. And therefore, if you are doing this on any school of law thing, not following your target of your heart, which is not, because we are accountable to Allah Ta'ala for our deeds. Cheating is not. Last point, let me give you an example. Quran uses terminology, basic terminology. And then you start, as we say in Urdu, baal ke khal nikalna, unnecessarily. For the Quran, you say, Quran says so. Haram riba wa halal al-bay'. Because the Quraysh, because they say, riba is also a kind of trade. Allah Ta'ala says, but the proof of obedience is that Allah Ta'ala says riba is haram and the trade is halal. So you must buy, if you are a Muslim, you must accept that. Now riba is a term. Now many English translations of the Quran, Yusuf Ali is the one man who started the business, and he says riba means usury. He doesn't translate it as interest. Interest is interest. Riba means any growth on the capital that you have, any growth. That's Abu Hanifa. Somebody humbly borrowed from him some amount, and then because he was owing him money, So one day Imam Abu Hanifa was passing by, it was hot, and there was a house, and that house was throwing a shadow of the sun thing. So he went and stood next to the wall under the shade of that house. And somebody told him that this is the owner of this house is the one who has borrowed money from you. So he immediately moved away from the shade, came out, because he said that would be riba, because that you are taking the nafa advantage of the man who has borrowed money from you. But that's taqwa. That's something else. But that's taqwa. But the Quran talks about the terminology that is riba. That means any growth on that. In your own country, in your own city, I hope, just forgive me 5 minutes more. In your own city, there was a mufti, his name was Mufti Abdul Latif. He was a mufti of the state. Now Mufti Abdul Latif was also a teacher of my father in Nadwa. Now he wrote a fatwa at that time. This was a controversy going on for a long time. That is, in India, to take riba is permissible with karahiyat. Is permissible. He wrote that fatwa, that jawab of the istifta of fatwa, and sent to all the ulama to decide about what it is. Salman Nadwi sent that fatwa also to my father also. Now keep in mind, Abdul Latif Sahib was his teacher, my father's teacher. So when he came to Hyderabad, he used to come to Hyderabad quite often. So my father wrote to Salman Nadwi that the author of this fatwa or risala is Mufti Abdul Latif Sahib, who happened to be my teacher in Nadwa. He had given me this pamphlet for me to look at it, and I told him at that time, I returned that pamphlet back to him, that brochure back to him, by saying, आप जिसको मकरूह समझते हैं, मैं उसे हराम समझता हूँ. So this is I'm talking about teacher and student. So even teacher can make a mistake, can arrive at a certain thing. And my father said कि जिसको आप मकरूह समझते हैं मैं उसे हराम समझता हूँ. Now interest is haram, in any form is haram. Now what is the problem? Now the bank rate which is established by the government, that is interest. Now I need money. I don't have collateral, I don't have anything to support my thing. What do? I need money. So I go to the bank, I'll go to an individual, Mahajan or somebody who over there who will deal with the interest. I need money, 1,000 rand, 10,000 rupees. Now one is the interest rate, which is the government rate. Now because I'm very needy, I want this, so I want to go and ask somebody. He said, all right, I'll give you, but not in 10%. I'll give you at 15% or 20%. Either you take it or leave it. I need money. He said, all right, I'll take it. That's usually. And then even more, in the case of the bank, say you borrowed money, they establish the installment of the money, 1,000 rand every month. Now 1 month you didn't pay your installment. So that 1 month installment is added to the interest, and that becomes compound. So you are paying on that. So as far as Islam is concerned, Islam made halal. So this terminology of interest or usury is an English terminology or the European terminology or the Western terminology. But for Islam is concerned, riba is riba. Whether it is usury, whether it is interest, it's the same thing. I give another example just to make it easier for you to understand. Quran uses the term zina, adultery. Now in the West, there is a difference between adultery and fornication. Now Quran uses the terminology. That applies to both, whether it is within marriage or outside of marriage. So So any sexual relationship outside of marriage is enough. Whether you're married or not married. The only difference will be in the punishment between married and unmarried. But as far as the crime is concerned, that remains the same. So people, in order to validate it, make jaiz, they khachi taan karke kuch kar idhar jaiz ho jaye somewhere, they make things. And now they will go into 4 schools of law. Even if they have to go to 5 schools of law, they will go there. Just because their heart does not accept what is being said. And therefore, the motto of a Muslim as a mu'min is, when the Quranic injunction came, when the interpretation came within the 4 schools of law, the matter is over. Should not go beyond running around internet to see what's happening. You don't know internet who is writing, who is replying. Maybe Baha'i, maybe Qadiani, maybe anybody may be there. So just because you're saying is there. So my point was that the development of the school of law hasn't stopped. It's still going on. And therefore, don't get alarmed in the sense that if there are problems coming up, the jurists, they solve the problem from wherever they come from. In your India itself, there was an issue which came up, which I clarified yesterday with Khalid Safullah Rahmani. There is an issue about the husband whose address is not known. He is lost, gone somewhere. How long the wife is supposed to wait? How long? Because the children that she has to look after. What do you do then? How long she has to wait? Maqud al-Khabar, nobody knows. In the war, the soldiers are as prisoner of war. You never know where they've gone. Or if nowadays situation said that you are hijacked or gone somewhere, I don't know, killed or whatever, nobody knows about you. So how long the wife is supposed to wait? The Hanafi school of law is strict. You have to wait for 80 years or whatever it is, the thing that until then. Imam Malik said, no, you got 4 years, that's fine. Valid. And there was a case in here where the husband was lost, nobody knew where he's gone there, the wife, how long was it with her? And then he came back. But fortunately in that case, the nikah was never cancelled. But that's something else. But had the nikah been cancelled, then they cancelled. The husband would not be able to get saying, because second husband is valid. That's the thing that happened. Well, then, what I'm saying is there are many these kinds of things which happen. There's somebody like somebody put a knife on your throat. I said, divorce your wife, and you divorce. What do you do then? Is divorce valid or not? To the Hanafi, the divorce is valid. To the Maliki, divorce is not valid. It's not there. The point I'm making is this, that in order to solve the problem today, the jurist would look into any school of law and give you a solution to the problem. This is what is happening. A qazi may follow any particular school of law. A qazi may be Hanbali or Maliki or Shafi or whatever it is. A qazi may be any. When he decides a case, he does not confine himself to one school of law, but he has to give all, look into this, where the solution is for. It is our fault that sometimes somebody comes to ask a fatwa, it depends whom you are going. If you're going to the Hanafi jurist, he will give a Hanafi fatwa. If you're going to a Maliki, you go to Maliki fatwa. If you go to Shafi, you go to Shafi fatwa. So therefore, as far as the people are concerned, the multitude is concerned, they can't chop and change and shake and this kind of thing. They have to accept whomever they trust, whoever they trust. That is the issue. As far as jurists are concerned, that's something else. The ulama, they do that. That's it, they discuss among themselves, create a solution, give a solution. Gave the solution and did it, kind of thing. So I hope you have understood, and hope you don't misquote me anywhere. and understood the problem as what I have given. It is not easy to do. That's a 1500 years progress into this kind of thing. The secondary source also, let me give you just finish it. These were the primary source, the Quran, Hadith, Ijma. They are secondary sources. Secondary sources, for example, customs, usage, any of these things. For example, mahr. How much mahr you put for your wife? Now the thing is, in South Africa, there was a time when they used to have 25 rand and 50 cents. You can't even buy anything. Now India and Pakistan, the two types of mahr were valid. One is the mahr Fatimi, they call it mahr Fatimi. The mahr which was Fatima. Some people are very strict about it. It has to be mahr Fatimi. But the majority view is that not mahr Fatimi, not necessarily mahr misl. That means whatever mahr is in the family, that is valid. The mahr should not be as high that you will not be able to pay, and should not be as low that become insignificant. The other time I was at the Delhi airport, I told him I was surprised that India is also getting expensive. I asked for a cup of tea, they charged me 70 rupees. Now 70 rupees for a cup of tea, well, just imagine about the mahr. So therefore it is important to understand that. So the mahr should be according to the capacity of the husband that he can pay. And therefore the custom and usage that what we're talking about, and Quran says so, that custom, for example in South Africa, the Africans who convert to Islam, among the tribes there is a custom of ancestor worshipping, that they have got all kinds of magic and kind of thing, and they call they read the dua, whatever it is, they call the ancestor, get the advice, whatever it is. They call ancestor worship. Christianity has accepted ancestor worship, it doesn't matter to them. Like among the Hindus, but you add one god or you reduce one god, doesn't make a difference. So the thing is this, in the case of the Christianity, the same thing. They count head. They don't worry about what you believe is kind of thing. I'll give you a joke just now about it. So the thing is this, these Africans were ancestor worshipping, and the Christianity accepted. But Islam does not accept. And therefore those Africans who become Muslim, they give up ancestor worship. Quran does not accept that. Islam will not compromise on that. So the customs and usage and for example, Quran says bil ma'ruf. For example, husband and wife, non-nafqa for the women, what you'll give? Naturally, if you compare your rupees with the dollar, so the dollar is nowadays 50 rupees to a dollar, and therefore you just give him $1, 50 rupees, that's enough. But if you go to America, $1 is not enough. So it will be the urf of the country wherever there are, as long as it does not negate the principles of Islam. So therefore the secondary sources will always is valid, provided that does not clash with the basic principles of Islam. That's why Sahaba had to give up. I told you, I gave the example just now by the Hajj, how the Quraysh used to make tawaf. Rasulullah corrected it. So any custom, any usage, any urf, anything, whatever had, and unfortunately people haven't paid much attention to that. You all of you must read the last khutbah of Rasulullah of the Hajj, the khutbah al-Hajjat al-Wada. You read, it's strange, really surprising, that khutbah hardly deals with the aqaid or the ibadat. There are only 2-3 lines. The rest of it, all of it, deals with social matters, with riba, with murder, with women, all the social matters. So the thing is this, our test is in the social matter, not what you are doing at home. How do you treat your wife? How do you treat your children? How do you go with things? All of these things. Now the thing is, the women, I don't want to create a controversy, but I think everybody knows about it. I'm just giving you an example, so that you don't... The husband thinks that I am the Lord of the three seas and three continents and can do whatever I want to do. This the wife is supposed to do this. The Quran says so. If the wife refuses to suckle a baby, that's her right. She can do that. And husband can't force her to suckle the baby. It is the husband's task to employ a lady to suckle the baby. If I push it even further, if the wife demands a salary for suckling the baby, the husband has to give. We are talking about the West, about the rights of women. But the problem is, and men are very happy that women don't know their rights. That's okay. That's why. And they don't want them to know anything. But if she does all of these things, that's her grace. You should be grateful. They should look at, keeps the peace of the house and so forth. Naturally, a woman is not obliged to earn. She can be millionaire, but she doesn't have to put a single cent in the expense of the house. It is the man's responsibility to do that. If she spends her money on the house, that's her grace. The husband should be grateful for that they're giving him. So the point of view, Quran has created a community with balance, with a sense of accountability to Allah. This is what the important thing is. How do you treat your wife? How do you treat your children? How do you treat your neighbor? All of these things. Not because you are a Lord and that's what happened just like that. So I just want to finish on this. I just give you a joke about the Christian thing they're talking about. The thing in South Africa, for example, they converted a black man to Christianity. Now among the Catholics, the thing thought on Friday, they say that you cannot. I think they cannot eat fish, Catholic for Friday or something. They converted the man. He was very happy. So after a few days, the priest went to see how this man is doing. He's not allowed to eat chicken. Sorry, not eating chicken, eating fish. So what happened that is on Friday he was eating fish, whatever chicken or something. So when came, he asked, because he's not allowed to eat fish and eating chicken, what is there? So he went to, priest came and see he's eating fish. He said, hey, what are you doing? You're not supposed to eat this fish. He said, no. I had, what do you call them? They dip them in the... Baptism. Says, no, I baptized him. I said, this is chicken, not fish. I'm very sorry to take so much time, but I hope you understood what it is.